All right, all right. The NFL draft is over. That means it's time for recapping, and we'll recap the first round of the draft, grading every single pick from Thursday night. Before we jump into it, hope you all are having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and this is the Shumake Take. Hope you all are doing well. Got a little bit of housekeeping for you guys before we jump into it 100%. But I had a very bizarre weekend. This is why the video is coming out late. I alluded to it here on a community post I made a few days ago. So if you guys saw that I was on Ray Kennedy's show, fantabulous. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But if you guys didn't, I went on a TV show, not a TV show, went on a live show with Ray Kennedy. He is a local award-winning columnist and for sports reporting for the local teams here in the Tampa Bay area. And also he has his own live show and his YouTube channel. His name is Tampa Bay Ray 7683. So go check him out over there. And you can go find him on Facebook, Instagram, right? And we had a really great time. It was a great show. We talked about the draft, talked about baseball, talked about the Rays, talked about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and a lot of cool stuff talking about sports, right? Talked a little bit about my background as well. But it was a really fun show, really great experience. So I want to thank Mr. Kennedy for having me on his show. That was awesome. And hopefully we will do it again sometime soon. Anyways, the other thing would happen to me over the weekend. On Saturday, I had a plan with two of my closest friends, and we were gonna go kayaking. Early afternoon. We went kayaking, and then we were gonna go watch the Minecraft movie. Well, before we had left to go to the Minecraft movie, we showed up at the USF River Boathouse and a kayak down Hillsborough River, and then we went back to my buddy's apartment, and my two friends, which just for context are twin brothers, they were roughhousing, right? Just play wrestling, and all of a sudden my friend gets hurt and he's okay, right? He seems perfectly normal. And, we go on our day, going throughout our day, we go into the movie and we sit down in the theater, right? We're chilling. 30 seconds into the movie, my friend is profusely sweating in a lot of pain and passes out next to me from the pain. And 30 seconds in, we have to leave the Minecraft movie and take him to the ER. And it turns out he has an infection, but he's all right. It's all good. He's chilling. He's going to get better. So there's no serious issues, but he was feeling a lot of pain. I'll be honest, I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I was not expecting that to happen, but it's you kind of got to roll with the punches sometimes, but he is all good. It's all right. So had that happen, we're at the hospital for about 4 or 5 hours. Finally got him discharged, got him home late last night. Then we stayed at his apartment, watched a movie, and then I came home from Tampa this morning, or you guys are seeing this Monday. I came home early Sunday morning and did the show with Ray Kennedy. So very busy, very bizarre weekend. So that's why this first round draft grade video is out later than I would like it to be. But with that being said, let's put all that aside and let's jump, right into it as I clear my throat. First overall pick, Titans take Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. This one's an A for me. Titans obviously getting their franchise quarterback and a guy that I have grown to love more and more and more. Every single video I see of him, every single interview I see of him as a Titans fan. You guys are seeing the shirt right now. Absolutely love the pick. I love the character. I love the person. I could make a whole video about why I'm excited about Cam Ward. And I might do that actually. I'll make a video talking about why I'm so excited for Cam Ward. But overall right now it's an A. Love the pick. And it's a pick that I've been clamoring for since week 6 of 2024. So that should kind of tell you how ecstatic I am about this pick. Number 2, the Jacksonville Jaguars traded up with the Cleveland Browns from number 5 to number 2 to select Travis Hunter, the wide receiver / defensive back out of Colorado. This is an A+ for me. Slam dunk. I know that they had to give up a lot of picks to get Travis Hunter. But let me tell you something. Jacksonville did not just do this pick because he's a fantastic player, right? The thing is they needed wide receiver, they needed a corner, they needed help at both spots, and you get a guy that's arguably the best of the draft at both positions. The same thing I talked about why I had Travis Hunter going to the New York Giants and all my mock drafts, the same exact reason is applied to the Jacksonville Jaguars here. And so that's not just the thing. The thing is, too, is Jacksonville is a small market team, and they need someone that's a big name, a big personality, high talent, high caliber, right? Somebody that can bring a lot of recognition to the franchise as well. And Travis Hunter gives you that. Think about it. He's went to Colorado, right? Deion Sanders revived that program. He's the first true two-way player we've seen come into the NFL. Not a guy that's kind of plays more than one position than the other. He played 100% of the snaps on both positions at Colorado, right? So he is truly a two-position player more than we've ever seen any other player do it at any level of football. So that type of notoriety, that type of player, right, gives a lot of attention to your franchise, and especially too, they need help at those spots at his position, right? So when he hits, if he hits, I should say, it'll be a massive, massive thing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a huge step in the right direction for them. And we heard talking about Liam Cohen, the head coach, talk about how they're trying to get help for Trevor Lawrence, and drafting Travis Hunter helps Trevor Lawrence in a big way. So A+ pick for me. Number 3 overall, the Giants select edge rusher Abdul Carter out of Penn State. This one's also an A, but kind of like last year for Malik Neighbors, I would give this one an A because that was the de facto pick. If you didn't pick Abdul Carter, you got something wrong up in here in your noggin. But that being aside, it was the obvious pick, but I do love it because Abdul Carter has a lot of upside, right? Best pass rusher in this draft class. And for a team that just won 4 games, you have to have another foundational piece on the trenches. That's where you build your football team up. When you're a bad football team, you build yourselves up with foundational players. Abdul Carter is that foundational player, and for right now, it seems like they're going to keep Kayvon Thibodeaux. I can't remember if they exercise his 5th-year option officially or not. Someone let me know in the comments and fill me in on that information. But as it stands right now, to my knowledge, you're going to have Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeaux, and then you're going to have Brian Burns all rotating off the edge. It's going to be a ferocious trio on paper. Along with, you add Dexter Lawrence in the interior, who's a top 5 defensive tackle in football. Oh man, on paper, this Giants defensive line should go absolutely bonkers, right? And with the additions in the secondary, where they have improved there, their defense theoretically should be really good this year, right? At the very least, it should be an average unit. It should not be a bad unit at all. There should not be one side of the ball that's really not good. It shouldn't be like a pass rush where, okay, like, you know, their defensive line is ranking in the top 10 and their secondary numbers are like in the 20s. It should not be like that. Maybe it will be. That's probably the very lowest bottom floor. But I'm expecting this defense to, at the very least, be average. And having Abdul Carter helps them become like what's an average defense on paper and could help them elevate and become that higher tier unit that the Giants should be able to potentially. I really like the idea, and picking Abdul Carter as a foundational player, really good pick for the New York Giants right now. Number 4, the Patriots pick offensive tackle Will Campbell out of LSU. I'm giving this one an A. Not flashy, but also a very responsible pick. Of course, very Mike Vrabel-like of him to go offensive line with his first round pick as the New England Patriots head coach. But here's the thing. Drake May needs protection. You have protection with Will Campbell. And here's the thing. Even if Will Campbell doesn't pan out at left tackle, he will kick into guard and have all-pro potential, probably be an all-pro at guard. Like, the guy's potential is insane. Very hard worker, very dedicated player, right? And that's the thing. Will Campbell, he has shown that he has the potential to be a left tackle in the NFL, regardless of the length concerns, regardless of what you think, right, on tape. He thinks he can be a left tackle. Mike Vrabel thinks he can be a left tackle, and they're probably going to try him at left tackle. And something I talked about with him during the pre-draft process when I was doing mock drafts is that he's not going up against elite pass rushers in the AFC East or very much throughout the Patriots' entire schedule in 2025. So that is a thing. He's going to be going up against a lot of tier 2 pass rushers. He is going to struggle against some of the tier 1s. He's going up against Myles Garrett, right, at some point this year. So he is going to struggle in that game against Myles Garrett, hands down, right? Any top tier pass rusher, he's going to have struggles, as every rookie offensive tackle will do. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does against the tier 2 pass rushers, especially in the Patriots division. Guys like Greg Russo, guys like Joey Bosa in Buffalo, a guy like Will McDonald in New York for the Jets, or like Chop Robinson or Jalen Phillips in Miami. Those guys are all tier 2 pass rushers, and they're all good in their own right, but they're not like the top tier guy like Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, right, for example. So he's going to go up against solid competition, but not enough elite competition where, like, if he struggles, then, like, the narratives of him kicking into guard kick in, right? So he's got a real shot to prove himself here, and I think it's a good situation to be in. You're going up against good talent. You're not going up against the elite talent, but enough talent to show that, okay, if you do well, you are a left tackle in the NFL. So I like the opportunity that Will Campbell's going to get to prove himself, and also going to New England to rebuild that they're going over, right, and protecting Drake May. Love the pick. Not flashy, but very responsible for them as they're rebuilding. Number fifth, or I just stuttered. Fifth overall, the Cleveland Browns, after trading down with Jacksonville, selected defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan. This one's our first B on the board. The thing is, they needed a defensive tackle, and it was a great option. You're looking to challenge Joe Burrow, challenge Lamar Jackson, right? Whoever ends up being the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh. And the thing is, interior pressure is much harder to deal with than edge pressure. Now in the NFL, look at the Eagles and how they dominated Super Bowl 55. Or not 55, 58, right? Is it 58 or 59? I can't remember anymore. Anyways, that's not the point. The thing is, I like the pick. The Browns needed a defensive tackle. Their run defense was not good last year, so I can understand the pick. Me personally, I just would have preferred if you would just stuck and pick Travis Hunter, who's the better player in my opinion. But look, you fill in a need with Mason Graham. He's not that far off of the top guys in the NFL draft, so you're still getting a really good football player on paper. Like, there's no challenging that. There's no taking that away from Mason. But I just would have preferred Travis Hunter here. But you get Mason Graham back to him, and then also you trade down. You get a bunch of picks back from Jacksonville after them trading up. And the thing is, the Browns, they needed that. And I think they used a lot of their draft picks really, really well, in my opinion, right? And so you get all these guys, you get the draft haul you got back, not just for this year, but also for next year. You got an extra first-round pick as well. They're just trying to rebuild and regain capital lost from the Deshaun Watson trade, which literally crippled their franchise from that aspect. So trading back and getting more picks to help recover yourself from that, and also make sure that, maybe you get a quarterback in the future that, allows you to jump off of Deshaun Watson and get rid of his contract and get him off the team a little bit easier. They drafted Dylan Gabriel and then Shedeur Sanders, both quarterbacks on Dylan Gabriel on day 2, Shedeur on day 3. And the thing is with Shedeur, I'm going to have a whole video on Shedeur later this week. I want to kind of compile my thoughts and can compile all the information that's available to us about why he fell. But that is something that's coming. I just want to let that know right now as Shedeur Sanders has popped up as I'm talking about him. But for the Browns, I like the pick, like the trade down and get more picks, get over the Deshaun Watson trade. Another here where I may not necessarily, I'm not over the moon about it, but at the same time, I really understand what they were trying to do, and I cannot complain whatsoever. Number 6, the Raiders drafted running back Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State, another A. The Raiders needed a running back, and they got the best one in the draft. He's going to be a dynamo in year 1 under Pete Carroll's system there in Las Vegas. Once again, another player that I've grown to root for a lot throughout the college football season, right? A lot of people did. But the thing is, with the Raiders, he's going into a situation where you have a quarterback, you have wide receivers. They also drafted, what is his name? I think it's Jason Beck, the wide receiver out of Northwestern, I believe. He was the MVP of the Senior Bowl, caught the game-winning touchdown. I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. I think he was out of TCU, maybe, actually. I can't remember. Anyways, so they have receivers. They have a decent enough offensive line. So you get a running back that's going to be the focal point of the offense. It's going to help out Geno Smith a lot as a veteran. I think this offense is going to be pretty good in Las Vegas in 2025. And Ashton Jeanty is going to be a focal point of that. Give me him as one of the early favorites to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Love the pick. Number 7, the Jets drafted offensive tackle Armand Membo out of Mizzou. This is another A, the exact move the Jets needed to make. Remember, they lost Tyron Smith. They lost Morgan Moses. Their 2 starting veteran tackles in free agency. You take the best offensive lineman available. Armand Membo is a massive, massive human being. And with Aaron Glenn coming from Detroit, where he saw Penei Sewell develop into a top 3 tackle in the NFL, have them go in, get Armand Membo, a guy who I don't know if he has the same potential as Penei Sewell, but a guy who has a lot of potential and a lot of upside, is a big, massive human being, and I think he will start day 1 at right tackle for the New York Jets, and I think he'll do okay. I'm expecting at least average tackle play from Armand Membo. I think that's his, floor right now as a player, but definitely he is going to get a lot better, I think. And with Aaron Glenn and the culture that he's come from and the coaching that he comes from in Detroit, I have more confidence now than I did in the offseason that, okay, maybe the Jets might actually be trending in the right direction here. And Armand Membo, another one of those foundational pieces that you need for a rebuilding, retooling football team like the New York Jets. Really like the pick. Really like where they went here. Number 8, the Panthers drafted wide receiver out of Arizona, Tetsuroa McMillan. This one was my first true surprise outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars trade up. But in terms of the selection, this is my first surprise. I'm going to give this one a B. The thing is, getting Bryce Young another weapon, it's appreciated. And the thing is, Bryce Young, pounded the table for this guy, advocated for this guy, and simply put, if you have a good quarterback and a terrible defense, you are going to be competitive and win football games. Just ask the Cincinnati Bengals. They went 9-8. They finished with a winning record despite everything that was happening on the defensive side of the ball. The Panthers had one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year, if not the worst. So that's the only reason why I'm giving it a B. I wish they would have went defense here and get a player to help them there, but they did go defense in the second round, and they got a really good player. I can't remember who it was they drafted off the top of my head, but he was a really good player, I remember. So either way, drafting Tetairoa McMillan, getting another weapon for Bryce Young, and elevating him, I think that's probably the better move long term, because what a good quarterback can do for your football team, and with Bryce Young looking to take a step forward here in year 3 under head coach Dave Canales, adding another big physical receiver to pair with Xavier Legette sounds like a really fun combination to me, or maybe trio of players to watch in 2025. Number 9th overall, the Saints draft offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. This one's another B and another what I would call responsible pick. The thing was, I had the Saints drafting Tetairoa McMillan. He went one pick before. And offensive line, I didn't really think about it, during that time, because I had Tet McMillan dropping to New Orleans every single time. But I still really like the pick. The thing is it a slight reach? Sure, but then again, you're not going to get someone trading up into the top 10 in this draft. So take one that you think is the best player available. And the thing is, Trevor Penning is not really working out right, kind of up and down. And for Talese Fuaga, he played well at left tackle, but maybe you move him back to the right side where he was played in college a lot, probably going to be more comfortable. And then you slide in Kelvin Banks, who's a big, very athletic left tackle, and boom, you have your franchise tackles for the next decade. They drafted Tyler Shuck in the second round, right? So going to protect him. I can get it. I can buy into it. And honestly, I like the pick. There's no reason for me to not like it. And always adding a piece like Kelvin Banks to your offensive line shows that you're making a shift, right? Kellen Moore is a new head coach. You want big, you want physical offensive linemen, and Kelvin Banks gives you that. Number 10th overall, the Bears draft tight end Colston Loveland out of Michigan. This one's a B. I thought Tyler Warren is the best tight end prospect in this draft class, but Colston Loveland, that was a very mixed debate between people. So some people, if you think Colston Loveland's better, then there you go. But overall, though, Colston Loveland, I think he's going to be a really good player for the Chicago Bears. He's a weapon, great receiver, kind of like a Travis Kelce in a way, where he's kind of a move. Well, maybe not like a move. Yeah, he's a move. Right? Travis Kelce, though, can put his hand in the dirt, so maybe not. But like Colston Loveland's kind of like a bigger receiver, is what I'm trying to say. And you look at Cole Kmet, you look at Roma Dunze, DJ Moore. They drafted Luther Burden in the second round. The Bears were loading up on talented players. That's the takeaway here, is they drafted a very, very talented tight end in Colston Loveland. And with him drafting top 10, that means they're comfortable with his injury. They think he's going to be fine, probably ready for week 1 if I had to guess. So if they're confident with drafting a guy like that at 10th overall, who's got a very high ceiling, right, could very well be the best tight end in this draft class. If Tyler Warren doesn't pan out, I think Tyler Warren will be better. But Colston Loveland is not going to be any slouch in my opinion. He's going to be a valuable weapon in that Bears offense in 2025. And while I'm not sure if he's going to have any Rookie of the Year hype, here's the thing. He's going to make Caleb Williams in this offense better. And if he is not good, I would be genuinely shocked if he was not. All right, let's continue. The 49ers. My mouth keeps on, my mouth keeps on just filling up with saliva. I don't know if I'm just thirsty. I might cut at pick 16 after the Arizona Cardinals pick and then go get some water. But either way, let's continue. The 49ers at 11th overall selected edge rusher Mykel Williams out of Georgia. I'm going to give this one a B, maybe a B+. Yeah, I'll give it a B+ because Mykel Williams, second best pure edge rusher in this draft, right, out of Georgia. Love the motor, love the upside. And the thing is, the 49ers, they lost a bunch of players in free agency. Lost a bunch. Their roster is nowhere near as good as it was in 2024. And so here's the deal. Kind of similar with Kansas City, which we'll talk about at the end. When you lose players, especially on your defensive line, on the offensive line, wherever, you have to retool first with the trenches, because the game starts and finishes in the trenches on your offensive and defensive line, right? So if you want to retool and rebuild, that is where you should start, in my opinion. And going edge rusher here to pair with Nick Bosa, I like the pick. Having two really high motor, really powerful edge rushers, I think will be really good in helping reestablish, what they've lost in San Francisco. And again, referencing the Philadelphia Eagles, look at what they did. They drafted Cam Jurgens, drafted Jordan Davis, drafted Jalen Carter, right? They also drafted Nolan Smith. So, they've spent high-quality draft picks on the offensive and defensive line. I think Cam Jurgens was a third-round pick, I'm pretty sure. By the way, they have invested, relatively high picks into the offensive and defensive line, right? Yes. And, look at where they are. They're Super Bowl champions. And those 2 points were two of the best spots on the entire roster for Philly. So that tells you that drafting and building through the trenches first works. That is how you probably should do it. And so I like the 49ers are taking that same approach. The Cowboys drafting offensive guard Tyler Booker out of Alabama with the 12th overall pick. This one to me is just an A. Sure, say what you want about Tyler Booker. I know his profile is very mixed, and a lot of people would say that drafting Booker is a massive reach. Here's the thing. You lost Zach Martin. He retired. Tyler Booker is going to come in right there. He's going to start right away at left guard, right guard, and be a good run blocker off rip. Right? Pass blocking is going to have some issues, I think. But at the same time, he's a rookie. That should get better with time. But the thing is why I'm calling this an A is because of the leadership. Zach Martin, who is an all-pro, he was also a captain on that team. He leaves. So you get a guy with a lot of good, similar leadership qualities that can fill in that spot, be a voice in the locker room, right? And help reset a culture that seems to, I shouldn't say it's out of whack. Not like Miami, which you go check out that video if you want to. That I made it was last week I made that. Anyways, Tyler Booker and his leadership qualities are probably what sold Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, because he can slide in right into right guard, play day one right away, get on the field. But also those leadership qualities are really going to help, especially because they have a new head coach in Brian Schottenheimer. So getting a guy that's going to help establish a new culture, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that's a perfect perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys in this scenario from where they are in their timeline. That's why I really love this pick of Tyler Booker. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins draft defensive tackle Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. This one I'm going to give a B-, only because I thought this was another one of those reaches similar to Kelvin Banks, but at the same time, no one's probably going to trade up in this draft. We saw no trades up until the bottom, till late of the first, right? So you take a player here at Kenneth Grant, and I really like the pick in terms of filling in a need at defensive tackle. You already have Zach Seiler, but I've talked about how they have a Christian-sized Wilkins hole in that spot, and Kenneth Grant fills that spot. Very big, massive player, right? Very physically imposing, and in year one is going to be a really good run stuffer, in my opinion. He's going to eat up double teams and make the jobs of Jalen Phillips and Chop Robinson a lot easier. But he has a lot of physical upside enough to where he could be a really good pass rusher. Like some people say his ceiling's Dexter Lawrence. I don't know about that. That's a very high ceiling to reach. But Kenneth Grant does have a lot of physical upside that makes you think, okay, this guy really could be the best defensive tackle in this draft class. So I like the move with Kenneth Grant. I like filling the need at defensive tackle. And although I would have preferred them to go secondary, right, or go offensive line, but I think they're going to be okay in those certain spots. Secondary, maybe not. We'll see if Jalen Ramsey gets traded. They did all get secondary players on day 3, so sure. But they do fill a need. They have multiple needs. Can't solve it all in one offseason, one draft. So getting a player that you think will be really good down the road in Kenneth Grant, I can't complain about that at all. Number 14, the Colts draft tight end Tyler Warren out of Penn State. This one's an A+ slam dunkaroo for me. This is the one I've been mocking to the Colts. I've been mocking Tyler Warren to the Colts the entire time. Every single mock draft I had was Tyler Warren going to the Colts. And the thing is, he's the best tight end in this draft class to me. Not only is he a great receiver, he's very savvy as a route runner. He can also put his hand in the dirt and lay out a block. But also, he can be using wildcat formations. Penn State had a lot of direct snaps to him, and he has enough speed and athleticism to make that work. He's a very versatile player in that way. And the thing was, he was the focal point in Penn State's offense where, defenses were selling out to try and stop this guy. and they still were not able to. And I talked about for the Colts specifically how they have everything else on offense set except for the quarterback position. But in terms of receiver, running back, offensive line, all they need is that dynamic tight end. And Tyler Warren gives them that. And he should elevate this offense. He should elevate Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, whoever ends up starting for the Colts in 2025. So you can't go wrong with a pick. Normally, you take a tight end or running back in the first round as a luxury when you have everything else. And the Colts, sure, they have. I mean, can you say they have everything else? Sure, for the most part, right? It's not a bad roster. But in a situation where you need to get something out of Anthony Richardson and find out now if he is going to be your quarterback of the future, getting him a weapon like Tyler Warren is very much necessary, and I can very much appreciate, not just for the quarterback, but what he is going to do for the Colts offense in 2025. Number 15th overall, the Falcons draft linebacker / edge Jalen Walker out of Georgia. This one is another A+ for me. I did not expect Jalen Walker to fall to 15, and that's probably part of the reason why I have it as an A+ because of the value there to me. But also, Jalen Walker seems like he's probably going to do more edge stuff with the Atlanta Falcons, considering that they need a pass rusher. But also, Raheem Morris loves defensive players, right? He's a defensive-minded coach and a guy who can line up on the edge, drop in with his off-ball linebacker experience, drop back into coverage, and give the Falcons defense that type of versatility. We are living in a time and age in the NFL now where 10, 15 years ago, if you were a tweener like Jalen Walker is, you probably weren't going to work out in the NFL. Even look at Isaiah Simmons, a guy who did everything at Clemson and then never worked out because he could never find one position in the NFL. But the thing is now, the NFL has adjusted to the players more and adjusted to their skill sets and adjusted to the versatility that more players have coming out of college nowadays. And I think Jalen Walker could be a foundational piece for the Falcons defense that they've lost. They don't have pass rushers, right? They have a Leonard Floyd, so they do have one. But they lost Grady Jarrett, their defensive tackle, right? He went to Chicago. So you need a young foundational piece on your defensive line, and Jalen Walker gives them that. And I think he will play well in year one, and for the value of getting him at 15, I think that's great, which is why I'm giving it an A+. Number 16, the Arizona Cardinals select Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. This one's a B-, just because Walter Nolan, to me, Walter Nolan's a very interesting prospect. These defensive tackles are very interesting. There's a lot of people that are high and low on each prospect. To me, I'm somewhere in the middle, as most people probably. Walter Nolan, again, he's like 296 pounds, a little bit undersized for a defensive tackle, but very athletic, very toolsy as a pass rusher, which I'm sure Rich Gannon would love to have in his defense. And he's also going to be learning under Calais Campbell, who they brought back, the Arizona Cardinals did. So that's going to be fun. He's going to learn from one of the best to ever do it in our generation. So I really like that idea, right? He doesn't have to play right away and, do a lot of stuff. I just worry because of his size. I would hope that he's going to put on weight when he gets to the, at the NFL, right? Throughout this rest of this offseason, I would hope he would put on some weight, because the big knock I have on Walter Nolan is because of his size, where he was moved a lot, he was double teamed a lot, and was essentially taken out of games, right? He was sometimes a liability in the run game. So it makes you wonder, how good is he going to be as a full 3-down player? So that's going to remain to be seen. But overall, in terms of upside as a pass rusher, I can really understand. As his floor, he's going to be a good rotational piece, right? But then again, the Cardinals do need help in the pass rush scenario, and you get one of the better pass rushers in this draft class. So bottom line is, I think the pick is good. Little bit of a reach because of where I stand on Walter Nolan personally, but if you can get the best out of him, oh my God, he's going to be one heck of a football player. So there is a lot of upside, which I can understand with the Arizona Cardinals pick. Alrighty, so I don't know how far along we are. I'm taking a little bit longer than normal. So I'm just going to make a cut here, make a transition, get me some water, kind of rehydrate a little bit. But I will be right back. All right, we are back. Sorry about that. I just had to get some water, and notice we are 30 minutes in. So I might go a little bit more rapid fire here for the last 16 picks, just because I don't want to take too much of y'all's time. But let's jump right back in. Number 17th overall, the Cincinnati Bengals selected edge rusher Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. This one I'm going to give a B+. The thing is with Shamar Stewart, he's going to need time to develop, right? He's got all the measurables, freak athlete, but has no production to back it up. And the thing is, the Bengals needed a player that's going to help them now. but maybe not help them now. I mean, sure, of course, but you always draft to build it for the future, not just to help you now. But Shamar Stewart, I think he's going to have an impact in 2025. I don't know how much, but you look at what his physical upside can be and probably be, the best edge rusher in this draft class if he hits his ceiling, right? But Shamar Stewart, you think about the measurables, you think about his pro comp, Myles Garrett. Who is in the AFC North with the Cleveland Browns? The Cincinnati Bengals. They have to face that guy twice a year, and every single week and every single time they face off, Myles Garrett absolutely destroys the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. And so the Bengals, knowing what they're going through with Myles Garrett, see Shamar Stewart as a comp, and they're like, okay, if we can get the best out of this guy, we're going to have another Myles Garrett, and boom, what are you going to do now, Cleveland? But that's why I think I like the pick and why they picked Shamar Stewart, because of Myles Garrett and his comp, right, with Shamar Stewart, because of their size and their measurables, right, and also their combine testing numbers as well are almost entirely identical, which is really freaky if you think about it, almost exactly to the numbers exactly. But that's besides the point. I like the upside, and I also like the comp, so getting Shamar Stewart here, people had him mocked, a lot of people mocked Cincinnati to go pass rusher, can't complain, really love the upside, that's why I'm giving it a B for now. But offensive guard, Gray Zabel going to the 18th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks. This one is another A for me. Another one I had mocked the entire time. Gray Zabel, the thing was, it was very interesting if the Seahawks were going to actually go offensive line for the first time in a while outside of Charles Cross, because despite needing offensive line help for so long, they've, have not invested enough into it, in my opinion, at the top. I know they've spent more draft capital on offensive linemen than most teams in the NFL, but not enough high-end draft capital like in the first round or second round. So getting a guy like Gray Zabel, who's kind of similar to Graham Barton out of Duke last year in Tampa, where coming out of college, he has experience playing all 5 positions, played them all pretty well, but he's going to be a guard or a starting center at the next level, and he's going to play really well, start day one. And the thing is, Clint Kubiak, he has a system where he uses 2 tight ends, likes to run the ball a little bit more than most teams, so you need to have good offensive linemen there to be able to execute that, and Gray Zabel gives them that, and he will be a really good, solid starter day one for Seattle, and probably could be their starting center for a decade. I think he can be that. I think he's really good. North Dakota State done a really good job at producing offensive linemen over these past handful of years, and Gray Zabel really makes me get excited for protecting Sam Darnold and seeing what this offense could look like in 2025. Number 19th overall, the Bucks selected wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka. This one I'm going to give an A-. I'm only going to give it an A- because Jahad Campbell was still on the board, and I would have liked them to select Jahad Campbell over Emeka Egbuka. But look, you look at the Bucks and their wide receiver room. Mike Evans has 1 year left on his contract. Who knows where he's going to be after the year? Chris Godwin, they brought him back, but also he is injury prone. So you need a guy like Emeka Egbuka who is durable, first and foremost, reliable, savvy as a route runner, good possession receiver as well, which fits well with a gunslinger like Baker Mayfield, his mentality. You get a guy who has got great hands, has great spacing, which complements Baker Mayfield really well. And even if, Emeka Egbuka doesn't reach his ceiling, which I think could be, I don't know, I'm not all like on the ins and outs of like pro comps, right? I just kind of know them if they're very popular, like Shamar Stewart to Myles Garrett, for example. But I know this. Emeka Egbuka's got a very high floor. So getting a guy like that in Tampa, along with Jalen McMillan over there as well. Trey Palmer is still in the mix, although some people think he could get cut, which is interesting. That's news to me. But either way, Emeka Egbuka is another receiver who's going to be high floor, fits what Tampa's trying to do on offense, and is also going to be one of those players that's going to be better as the years goes on in the future, as he has a more prominent role in the Bucs offense in years to come. So I like the pick. A- for me. Number 20, the Broncos select corner Jahdae Barron out of Texas. First corner off the board in the draft. I'm giving this one a B+. And the only thing that's keeping it from an A is because I would have preferred the Broncos to go offense, right? Go wide receiver or go running back even, right? Omarion Hampton, Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, right? We're still on the board at pick 20. But the thing was, for the Denver Broncos secondary, it it was probably the weakest part of that defense, despite how good it really was. But outside of Patrick Surtain, their corners dealt with injuries, right? They kind of dealt with shaky play because of it as well at times. And you add a corner like Jahdae Barron, who has really great versatility. He can line up outside, line up inside. And they also, no, never mind. I'm thinking about something else. Excuse me. Going back to Barron, he's got the positional versatility, very polished player as well. He's going to start day one for the Denver Broncos. And the thing was, their defense was really good last year. Add on to the weakest part of your defense, quite frankly, one of the weakest parts of your entire team, and build on that. You pair it up with the defensive player of the year in Patrick Surtain and go to work. The Broncos, they added some players in free agency. They added players in the draft on late day 2, day 3. So they have pieces there to help Bo Nix continue to develop and grow. I think it's a situation where you help your secondary and draft one of the best players available in Jahdae Barron. So I cannot complain about the pick. Really, really like it for what they're going to try and do on defense and try and build off of their explosive year in terms of, they're really good out of surprise year in 2024. Number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers select defensive tackle Derek Harmon out of Oregon. This one to me is an A. First off, great value. I thought Derek Harmon was the second or third best defensive tackle, not the fourth. So getting him here at 21 is really good value. And also, Derek Harmon is a player that physically imposing, right? Gonna have a good role in year one, learning behind Cameron Hayward, who's going to retire soon. He's getting older up there in age, right? And also, Cameron Hayward, Walter Payton Man of the Year award recipient. So, Derek Harmon is going to learn from one of the best at the position, right? A true pro, a true high character guy in Cameron Hayward, which I like the pick there. You know, Pittsburgh's got a strong culture, so that also fits really well. And the thing is, Derek Harmon, he lost his mother the day after he got drafted. So first and foremost, thoughts and prayers are out to him and his family. And I know that his mother could not be any more proud of Derek getting drafted, making his dreams come true, going in the first round. But, putting that aside, just wanted to mention that though. This is a good pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, adding to the defensive line, building for the future. And while passing on Shedeur Sanders was an interesting one to me, although now it's definitely, the whole situation is more bizarre. That's why I'm making a video about it later on in the week as I, have more time to gather thoughts and gather more information. But with Derek Harmon and the pick in question specifically, it's really good. It adds to help building for the future, like I said, and is a player that's going to be better as the years go on, as he gains more experience, right, and adjust to the NFL. And I thought they got great value. I did not think he was the fourth best defensive tackle prospect in this draft. At worst, I thought he was third. So great value. Really like the pick. Responsible one for the Pittsburgh Steelers, oddly enough. Number 22, this one kind of shocked me. The Chargers selected running back Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. This one I'm giving a B. I'm thinking, because I did not envision the Chargers going running back in the first round of the draft. But then again, I had them going Colson Loveland most of the time, and he went top 10. The other big need for the Chargers was defensive tackle, and the only one left in the first round was Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, who went to Detroit, who we'll talk about in a moment. So Omarion Hampton, probably, I won't say the best player available, but the thing is, Najee Harris is on a one-year deal with LA. Omarion Hampton has the potential to be a more long-term option for them, and it fits what Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers are trying to do. They want to be physical, they want to run the football, and they tried to establish a duo last year with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and it didn't work as a duo, although J.K. Dobbins played really well. I hope it gets picked up by somebody soon. But you have Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton, two bigger physical running backs, and that's going to help you wear down a defense. It's going to help you, just pound the rock. It'll help out Justin Herbert, right, and bounce back after the playoff disaster that they had. And the thing was, they could not run the ball very well in that game against Houston. And adding a guy like Najee Harris, adding a guy like Omarion Hampton should have helped them get better with that, right? When it really matters, they needed to be able to run the ball, and there was times where they couldn't. This gives them the opportunity to make that right and really improve on what they're trying to do, which is kind of what I'm trying to say. So I like the pick of Omarion Hampton. I'll give it a B. I could have thought they could have gone somewhere else maybe, but given that their top players on their board were all gone at positions of need, to me it seems like get a player that you're going to use. Similar to why I talked about him going to the Chicago Bears. You're going to get a player, if you're going to use him in the first, draft him in the first round, you're going to use him. use him and take a pick on him. So I like the pick. I like the fit. So can't really complain. Number 23rd overall, the Packers selected Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. This one I'm giving an A, not because I think he's a good wide receiver prospect, although he is. The thing is, the Packers finally selected a first-round receiver for the first time since 2002, something the Packers fans have been wanting for so long. And the president via or their CEO, right, the top dog representing the Green Bay Packers, came out and said it on draft night. He was like, all right, with this pick, for the first time since 2002, the Packers select Matthew Golden. The whole crowd went nuts. It was awesome. But for Matthew Golden, I really like what he brings to the table for Green Bay. Not only does he bring durability, he brings reliability, and also a lot of polish, a lot of refinement, where he is going to start day one and be a really big target. Maybe not big in terms of size, but a very constant target for Jordan Love, where, sure, every receiver in Green Bay has like one thing they do really well. Matthew Golden doesn't have an extremely high ceiling, but all the things he does really, really well. And the Packers will need that. They need some consistency at wide receiver. So I don't know if he's going to be the high-end wide receiver one that the Packers truly need. He's going to be at the floor, an absolute floor, a very high-level wide receiver two. That's going to be a security blanket and reliable player for Jordan Love in 2025. And right now, definitely gives them a big boost in that department. Number 24th overall, the Minnesota Vikings select guard Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. This one, I'm going to give it an A. I had it marked here as an A+ in my script, but I'm going to give it an A. Personally, I had them going safety the entire time and going Malachi Starks or Nick Amanwari at the beginning of it, right? Because they lost Cam Bynum, right? But at the same time, they do need help at offensive line. They lost a couple pieces, or they lost a piece, I think. Either way, Donovan Jackson is a guy that kind of shot up draft boards and kind of got better as the draft process went on. And looking at what he did at Ohio State, not just at left guard, where he was a monster, but when he kicked out to left tackle, when Josh Simmons, who went a few picks below him, got hurt, he played really well. And it's a guy who, he's probably a first-round talent, and helping build an offensive line, protect J.J. McCarthy. I cannot complain about that at all, and I really like that. Their defense was really good last year. They have pieces in place to help them continue to be good in 2025. So invest in your quarterback. Invest in your young quarterback and make sure that he's well protected and can be the best he can absolutely be. And I have no qualms about that. Same thing with Bryce Young drafting Ted McMillan. Not the pick I would have thought. I would have preferred them going defense. But at the same time, how can you complain about a team trying to invest and help their young quarterback get better? So, like the pick. Thought he was a really good talent. Can't complain. Number 25, the Giants traded up back into the first round, traded for the Houston Texans to select quarterback Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. This pick for me is a C+. It is pretty well known now at this point. When I uploaded my instant reaction when Jackson Dart got drafted, I am not a fan of Jackson Dart. Here's the thing. As a player, I like the person. I like his competitive nature, which is why the Giants picked him, right? And also, the Ole Miss connection. Come on. You don't think they took that into account with Eli Manning being there for so long, also coming out of Ole Miss. But that's besides the point. Jackson Dart, it's a C+ for me, even though I've grown to more, I can understand the pick. I can understand, right, the physical talent, right, and the guy that he is, and what Brian Daboll likes in his quarterbacks. That makes sense to me. So I can understand more now of why they picked Dart. But I still don't like it. I still would have wished they went straight over Sanders, who I still believe is the second best quarterback in this draft in terms of pure talent and NFL readiness. But that's the thing. Jackson Dart is not going to have to start right away. He's going to learn behind Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, of course. So he's not going to be rushed at all to start, which I like. Now it makes more sense why they went two quarterbacks, because now you have two starting level quarterbacks in Winston and Wilson. And now, that, barring anything crazy, that ensures that Jackson Dart is going to sit and get the learning that he needs to adjust at the NFL level, which I can really respect that for head coach Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And also that's going to help them, kind of extend their life cycle a little bit, if that's what they're trying to do, because they're also trying to save their jobs, right? But at the same time, Jackson Dart, for me, I just don't like him as a prospect, because the old offense at Ole Miss made it really hard to evaluate him. But what we saw, one read, right? Can he be at the next level? Can he process a whole bunch of more stuff going on around him. I don't know. That's going to be something that he's going to have to work on and develop. But also, he took really bad sacks. He was also kind of showing that he could not have that clutch gene, right? Looking at the Florida game, for example. But also, a lot of receivers dropped touchdowns in that game as well. So that did not help Dart or help Ole Miss at all there anyways. But the thing is, he just doesn't have a lot of high, NFL ready traits, and not a lot of NFL traits that I think your quarterback needs. But at the same time, you can't go wrong with a guy that's physically talented, has great character. So you get a guy like that, and you ensure that he's going to sit and learn and develop. And okay, you're at least doing right. You're at least doing the right process in drafting a quarterback like Jackson Dart. So I can respect that. While I don't like him very much as a prospect, I can understand what the Giants were trying to do. So C+ for me has the potential to be a B+ here in the next couple of years for me. Then we get, right after it, we have another trade. The Falcons trade back up into the first round via the LA Rams and take edge rusher James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. This one's a A- for me. You had to give up a future first round pick to trade back into the first, but you get a third round pick back, so it mitigates it a little bit. But for the Falcons, like we've talked about numerous times, their biggest need is pass rusher. They got 2 high ceiling pass rushers in this draft class with Jalen Walker and now James Pierce Jr. And I think the Falcons are a team that won the first round of the draft. They needed help at one specific spot, and they got two of the best players in the class at that spot, at pass rusher, at edge rusher. I cannot be more ecstatic for what the Falcons are doing to try and be competitive. This tells me that they really want to be good in 2025. They want to finally get this crap fixed on the defensive line. For the Falcons, they need foundational pieces like I talked about with Jalen Walker, and they lost Grady Jarrett. So you have 2 guys here that you can build around. You can actually build around these players. These are good enough players with enough upside to do that. And you get you get good coaching from these guys. They're going to be fantastic football players. Even if one of these players hits, at least you took swings on guys with upside right here. And if both of them hit, that's going to be fantastic. That could be a top 5 edge duo in the NFL if both of them hit, which that's going to be a high stretch, right? Just given, history of the NFL draft. But even then, if one of them hits, right, that's going to be massive. And so I really like that they're taking swings on high upside players here that are going to start right away and probably play well for them and show good flashes. So I really like the idea that Falcons are trading up. They wanted him at 15, but Jalen Walker was a better prospect and he was there. And so you trade up and get a guy that you originally wanted. Love it. Love the move. So can't go wrong here. I think the Falcons were one of the few teams that really won the first round of the draft, and trading up for James Pierce Jr. and getting Jalen Walker is exactly why. The Baltimore Ravens at 27th overall draft Malachi Starks, a safety out of Alabama. This one is also an A for me. Georgia, oh my God, I just brain fart. I'm sorry. I'll look it up after and feel really stupid. But Malachi Starks, this is an A for me. Not the Falcons. God dang it, man. The Ravens drafted Malachi Starks. It's an A for me. Love it because they needed another safety to pair with Kyle Hamilton. And Malachi Starks, with his speed and his ball skills, will be a day 1 starter in the Falcons. I keep saying Falcons. Oh my God, they're both birds. That's where I'm getting fixed. That's where I'm getting fixed up at. But he's going to start day 1 for the Ravens. And this might be a bold take. By year's end, I think Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton will be a top 10 safety duo in the NFL, if not top 5. I think Malachi Starks has that type of upside where he's going to an already great defense in Baltimore, great coaching in Baltimore. So he's not going to have to do a lot. There's not going to be a lot on his plate. And the Falcons, I said it again. I did it again. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Anyways, the Ravens have a lot of good players on their team, so there's not going to be a lot of pressure on Malachi Starks to be an immediate impact player, but I think he's still going to be, and I think he's going to play well. And like I said, bold take, I think him and Kyle Hamilton could be a top safety duo in the league by year's end. I'm really like Malachi Starks, and getting him here at 26, or 27 rather, it's a really great selection for the Baltimore Ravens. Getting on, let's just move on from that entire debacle. Number 28th overall, the Detroit Lions select defensive tackle Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. This one's a B. At first, I didn't like this pick very much. I thought it was a reach, but the more I thought about it and you think about building for the future, Tyleik Williams can be that. A guy with a lot of physical upside, right? Very smooth mover, too, for a guy his size. But you look at DJ Reader, who there's their best defensive tackle right now, is going to be a free agent after 2025. So you have a future replacement there, potentially. But right now, he's going to get to sit and learn a little bit, be a part of a rotation instead of having to be, a starter right away, which is what you're going to see a lot from these last few picks in the draft for the most part. But the thing is, you got to get good interior pressure. Having 3 guys in that rotation is really good. Again, look at the Philadelphia Eagles and what they did. But more importantly, having a good trio of defensive tackles rotating in and out is going to take a lot of pressure off of Aiden Hutchinson, who's coming back from injury, which is going to really help him, which I can also see why they went with that type of pick because of what it's going to do for Aiden Hutchinson. So while I didn't like it at first, I have grown to really understand and kind of appreciate what they're trying to do with Tyleik Williams, which is why I'm giving it a B. Number 29th overall, the Commanders draft offensive tackle out of Oregon, Josh Conerly Jr. This one's a C+. Again, another player that's not going to have to start right away, is going to sit and develop. But the thing is, they now have 4 starting caliber tackles, which is a good problem to have, right? I'm not saying it's a bad problem, but they had other needs, which they were able to fill in day 2 and day 3 with players that I liked. But I thought they could have gone somewhere else with their first round pick. Left tackle, right tackle was not an immediate pressing need for the Commanders. And they have players there where you could have probably gone offensive tackle later in the draft if you really liked one, right? A guy with physical upside, or could have gone with it in 2026. But at the same time, he is a good player, a guy that shot up draft boards as the draft got closer and closer. Some people thought he could go in the first round late, and here he goes, late first round. And at least right now, he's going to sit. He's going to take time. Maybe he's a starter. You kick him into right guard potentially, right? Or right, because the Commanders, they have Nick Allegretti at left guard coming back from injury, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, if he starts right away, it's most likely going to be at right guard. So he does have right tackle potential to be, franchise right tackle potential. But it's just, I thought they could have gone somewhere else. But I like the player, right? I like the upside and what it could be. So sure. But this is going to be a pick that's just we're going to have to revisit it later on as time goes on. I don't expect him to see the field all that much in year 1. Number 30th overall, the Bills select Maxwell Harrison, the corner out of Kentucky. This one's an A- to me. Maxwell Harrison is a guy that I really grew to like as the draft process went along. He's not that big of a corner, but he's got great speed, ran a 4.2 at the combine. He's got great instincts, great burst, where there is one big reason why they drafted Maxwell Harrison. It is not because he's got elite football character. Not because he's got elite football character or because he's got great speed, but kind of similar to why I think the Bills drafted Dalton Kincaid a couple of years ago. It is because they wanted a Travis Kelce equivalent. They wanted a security blanket like Travis Kelce, like Patrick Mahomes has over there in Kansas City. And the Bills are trying to beat Kansas City, and so they're getting they were getting a player that helps them challenge them in that spot and kind of compete there. And for Maxwell Harrison running a 4.2 speed, there's a very fast wide receiver that happens to run a 4.2 speed in Kansas City, that being Xavier Worthy. Maxwell Harrison is going to be the insurance and going to be the X factor in stopping Xavier Worthy in 2025, which is why the Buffalo Bills picked Maxwell Harrison. But again, great speed and great football character anyways, which is probably the biggest things why they took Maxwell here. And I really like the player. I really like what he could be. The Bills needed a corner, so they fill in a need there as well. He could be pretty flashy. He had 3 pick sixes in his last year here at Kentucky. So a guy that you could see make some real highlight level plays as a rookie, and kind of like a Quinyon Mitchell, where some people thought he'd struggle and he just kind of popped off out of nowhere. Maxwell Harrison could very much be that guy in Buffalo. I'm excited to see what Maxwell Harrison could do in 2025 for the Buffalo Bills. Number 31, the Philadelphia Eagles select linebacker / edge rusher Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. This one's an A++, one of the best picks in the entire draft. What an absolute steal, Howie Roseman. You are a freaking wizard. apparently he had a trade set for the Chargers to trade up to 21st overall, and it didn't go through. And he called every single team looking to trade up. That's how badly he wanted Jahad Campbell, and he fell right to his lap. Oh my God. The value that the Eagles are getting for Jahad Campbell is absolutely massive. A guy that's going to be good at linebacker, probably going to transition to edge rusher because the Eagles do have 2 starting linebackers there with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. But Jahad Campbell has the physicality and the motor to be that number 1 edge rusher that the Eagles need. And also with his versatility of being able to drop back into coverage, right, with that speed as well. I think this is going to be a piece that Vic Fangio will love to get his hands on. I think maybe not be an immediate contributor high level on day one, but Jesus Christ, the upside here for Jahad Campbell going to a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, good God, this pick could be a really, really good one and could really age as the years go on more than it already has because of the value they got Jahad Campbell at. So I really love the pick for all the right reasons. This could be very much one of the biggest steals of the entire first round, and I'm not even joking. This pick, incredible by Howie Roseman, the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, Howie Roseman is a wizard. Lastly, we get to the 32nd overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. I completely forgot to acknowledge that these two teams swapped, right? The Eagles traded up from 32 to 31 to take Jahad Campbell, and the Chiefs, not needing a linebacker, right? They re-signed Nick Bolton. They trade down, select offensive tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Another A-plus pick for me. Josh Simmons coming off of an injury earlier in the year. Will not have to start right away because they signed Jalen Moore. He's going to have time to recover. And the thing is, had he been healthy, he would have been the top tackle prospect in this draft. And the Chiefs got him at 32nd. And they have a position in place where he's not going to have to start. So he's going to be able to recover and get healthy. The Chiefs, like the 49ers, lost a bunch of players, especially on their offensive defensive line. And where do you rebuild in that situation? You start with the trenches and getting another player that could be one of the biggest steals of the first round at this spot. What is there to not like about this spot? I love the pick of Josh Simmons for Kansas City. Incredible value. They have a procedure in place for him to get him recovered and get him healthy. And when he gets on the field, he very much could be one of the best left tackles in the NFL, filling up an issue that the Chiefs have had for the past couple of years now. Wow. Just wow. Love the pick. And also I'm kind of happy because I mocked him going to the Chiefs for a long time. So, but bam, that was a cool, good pick by me anyways in my mocks. But that will round it up for the first round of the NFL draft. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the Shumake Take if you're new around here or been here for a while and you have not pushed those buttons, which you should because it's free. If it's free, it's for me. You know what I'm saying? And also make sure you guys leave me your thoughts in the comments down below. Who do you think I have graded too high? Who do you think I have graded too low? Right? Want to hear all your nice, awesome comments down there. Kind of had a brain fart. Anyways, also make sure you guys share the video, whether it's by word of mouth or social media, getting everybody locked on to the Shumake Take podcast, coming out with great content for you guys every single week. Also, going to be coming out with videos about why am I excited about Cam Ward as a Tennessee Titans fan, why Shedeur Sanders fell, and why I think that ultimately happened. And also maybe to do some other draft content as well if I see fit. So keep an eye on mind for that. And also, speaking of social media, follow me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and check out YouTube Shorts as well. Fine, right? So check all of it out. Follow me on all my social media platforms as it is back in full swing. Got a lot of great feedback from doing social media during the NFL draft, during the first round. Oh my God, so many people saw it. We got some comments on it as well. So great stuff, great growth. So keep an eye out for that. Follow me there for also updates on the show as well. I'll be posting updates there as well. So do all that good stuff. That is going to do it for me today, guys. Hope you all have enjoyed. Sorry the video was a bit longer, but it requires that, so I'm not going to be too upset about it. But as always, hope you guys have enjoyed officially, and I will see you all next time.